Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am really excited to have you all here with me today. Those of you that are listening live, as well as those of you that are going to catch the replay. So welcome to all of you. My name is Lesli Bitel, and I'm a business coach and mentor. I help nutritional professionals and functional medicine practitioners to really overcome that sense of confusion that often crops up on the business side of building a profitable practice. So in the work that I do, I teach those tools and techniques necessary to attract the right clients into your practice and to enroll those really awesome, highly committed clients, ultimately to help you to create multiple streams of income in your health practice. So that is a little bit about me. I'm really super happy to have my wonderful client, Carrie Dennett, here with me today. So super excited. Welcome, Carrie.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So Carrie is a wonderful practitioner, a registered dietitian, and an intuitive eating counselor. Counselor. I love that. And really, I'm very much looking forward to getting her insight and really being able to talk through the exact steps that she has taken inside of her business to bring it to the six-figure level, right? So exciting. She is on par to achieve her financial goals in this year, which is so exciting. Love to hear that. Yeah. And I think what makes this really special is that she is doing it in a way that really suits her and her family, right? Being able to take time off and really creating those boundaries, right? Which is so important. I would say it's especially important for this area of work within the intuitive eating market, right? Because there's a lot of emotional stuff going on. But anyway, Carrie, tell us a little bit about yourself, you know, where you're from, and a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, well, I am, as you said, a registered dietitian and a certified intuitive eating counselor, but I am a second career dietitian. I started out as a journalist. I got my journalism degree from the University of Oregon and worked, as a journalist and a copywriter for many, many years. And then at one point I was working as a healthcare copywriter, writing consumer-facing copy, and I just got the wild hair that I wanted to do more than just write stuff that people may or may not take action from, because I knew even as a non-healthcare professional that behavior change is hard. So I wanted to become a dietitian. So I almost didn't, because I went onto the University of Washington website and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to take like 2 years of science prereqs. I am not a science person. I'm a writer, but I wanted it enough. I took those prereqs, found out biochemistry is actually fun, and became a dietitian. So, and I was living in Seattle at the time. As part of the transition to becoming a solopreneur, I did move to Southern Oregon in the fall of 2018, which was an adventure.
Yes, that's a big move.
That was a big move. We built our own house too, so that's another big adventure in and of itself. And my husband and I are still together in spite of having a house built. So
that's saying something,
right?
Because that can be very challenging. Building a house from scratch, definitely, and and just the move alone, right?
Yeah, it was a big move. It's not the furthest move because we've lived on the East Coast, so we've done cross country moves, but we were in our house for enough years where we accumulated a lot of stuff. So
I hear you. I'm right there with you right now. We're days away from a big move, and it is crazy. You can't see behind me, but like I moved the boxes so we'd have a little bit of a clear space behind you. But trust me, I cleared a path. But trust me, they're all there. So how did you decide to, I know, you started out interested in helping people to manage their weight, like really more of a weight loss type of approach. I'm really curious about how you made that transition. Like, what was it that I guess propelled you into this different approach, more of the intuitive eating approach?
Yeah, well, yeah, you're totally right. When I decided to go back to grad school to become a dietitian, it was totally with the idea that I was going to help people lose weight successfully. And that was because at that time I was very deeply embedded and bought into diet culture, full stop. I was probably in my most intensive dieting phase of my life, and I probably dieted as a teenager, but yeah, I was all in and I was successful and I was going to help people be successful. And I was so freaking full of myself. But
like we all are at that time, right?
Right. It's like, yeah, no. And then my first year of grad school, just kind of by happenstance, I was exposed to the book Intuitive Eating and Health at Every Size. And at the time, I was just like, wow, this is like really great for other people, but not for me personally. I mean, I really feel like this is great that people can, you know, improve their health and be healthier without necessarily trying to lose weight. So my mind started to go that direction in terms of how I might help people, even though it took longer for me to get disentangled from diet culture personally. But my first job out of school was kind of doing oncology nutrition, which I didn't do that for very long. It was interesting, and you know, because some people might think intuitive eating is a little woo-woo, which it's really not. But you know, I can like geek out on the nutrition science like nobody's business. So just understanding the interplay of diet, environment, and cancer genes was really fascinating, and I enjoyed it. But that job just wasn't really working out. I wasn't getting enough clients. So I had the opportunity to work for a doctor at a large multi-specialty clinic in Seattle doing quote unquote non-diet weight management, which I now know is not a thing. But at the time, it was a logical next step for me. And I really enjoyed the job. The doctor I worked for was great. My patients were great. The staff in our office was great. But so that was 2015. And in 2016, I decided to pursue certification as an intuitive eating counselor and did the training and was kind of incorporating intuitive eating with my clients, even though they were coming to me to lose weight, which became more and more uncomfortable because intuitive eating is not compatible with intentional weight loss. It's just not, even though many diet companies are now trying to claim they incorporate intuitive eating. But the nice thing was the doctor I worked for, even though she had this weight management program, she actually didn't care if people lost weight. If they were improving their health markers and didn't lose any weight, you know, she was happy. In fact, I just thinking of one client I had, she actually gained some weight, but she got off her metformin. So, you know, that was good. So even though I felt like I was kind of selling non-diet weight management, which started to feel a little icky, I was able to practice in the way that I wanted to when it kind of came down to the day-to-day.
So interesting.
Yeah.
I love that journey. So obviously in order to practice in this way, you yourself adopted this way of being too, right?
Yes.
Is that safe to assume?
It is safe to assume. I mean, I feel like, you know, we have to walk our talk, and, you know, it's something that you hear a lot in eating disorder spaces, as well as intuitive eating spaces, is you can really only bring patients or clients along as far as you've gone yourself. So, you know, I think, you know, it's important, you know, for anybody working in this space to do our own work as well. So very, very.
So tell me a little bit about how, because you're a journalist originally, which is so interesting. And we actually have Georgia Strong. Hello, Georgia. Welcome. Who is a copywriter turned nutritionist. So obviously a lot of interest in how you were able to really leverage your journalism background. Can you tell us a little bit about that I guess, that synergy that it's been able to, that combination has created for you in your career.
Yeah, totally. I think, the first thing I want to mention, this was so funny. I remember when I was still in school. It was either the first or second Fancy I went to. And I was at just the networking session for nutrition entrepreneurs. And I was just chatting with somebody and I said, oh, I have a degree in journalism and that's my background. And she was just like, oh, well, you'll be fine then. And I was like, really? Like, I could really do something with this? I was like so excited. But yeah.
Known, right? I mean, really, I was thinking about that, last night when I was, just kind of thinking through our chat for today. I was like, man, who would have guessed what a great combination this would be?
And it's kind of funny because, one of the things when I decided to go back to grad school to become a dietitian, part of it was, I was at that point, I was writing consumer facing health and wellness copy. But, I was citing, the American Heart Association, American Diabetes Association, expert sources. And I kind of, part of it was like, I want to be an expert source. I want to have the knowledge and the training and the education where I'm an expert. So that was part of it. And then, let's see, the spring of 2012. So I was about 6 months into my dietetic program. And the Seattle Times, where I had previously worked, mostly as a news assistant, I did a little freelance writing for them at that time, but it was nothing major. That was one of the reasons why I left. The structure at the time, I was having trouble breaking through into a writing role, even though I had been a reporter at newspapers before. So that's why I went into copywriting. But they were starting a new health and wellness page, and they hadn't really decided what they wanted to do with it. And so, I contact, they said, well, do you want me to give them, the URL for your blog? Because when I decided to go back to grad school and I was taking all those science prereqs, I started a blog. Because I just, I was so into nutrition because this was going to be my new path. I was excited. And so I thought writing this blog might kind of give some evidence that this is a serious career change for me. I'm not just applying to grad school on a whim, because the University of Washington program is pretty competitive, especially to get into not so much the nutrition program, but to get into the coordinated dietetic program that gets you your internship built in. You don't have to do the internship match thing. So I was like, I really wanted to demonstrate this was serious. So I had some nutrition writing, that people could see. And so the Seattle Times, they really liked that. They asked me to write for them. At one point I was writing, they had like a physician writing for them, I think a therapist, a personal trainer, something else. And my column became so popular that they kind of winnowed away those people one by one. So now I've been writing weekly for a while now. Mm-hmm. So, and that was a little nerve-wracking when I was still in grad school. Obviously I was going to be evidence-based, but I was just like being really careful because I'm like, oh my God, my professors are going to see this. And if I say anything wrong, they're going to be like, but yeah, that was exciting. That was just, like I said, I feel like I really earned that opportunity. It wasn't just like handed to me, but it was just kind of, the right place at the right time. I feel really lucky. And so after I graduated, Sharon Palmer, plant-based dietitian, she's originally from the Seattle area. So she was familiar with my column. And she asked me to do some writing for her when she was editing Environmental Nutrition Newsletter, which she doesn't currently. So I was writing for her and she recommended me to Today's Dietitian. So I started writing for them. And then I distinctly remember it was, 2016, I was in the south of France, lovely little town called Vence. We'd gotten up in the morning and my husband was making breakfast and I was checking my email on my phone. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. My husband's like, what? I'm like, the Washington Post wants me to write for them.
Oh, wow.
So I wrote my tryout article while I was in the south of France, which I think I had a mild cold, so we weren't doing as much sightseeing. I was like, okay, what am I going to say? No?
No, I think you're going to make it work, right?
Yeah, it's like, I will write this first article as my tryout, but they found me via Twitter. So probably found my
Very interesting.
Yeah, when I promoted them. So it's just kind of how, like, one door opens and then another and another and another. So yeah, that's kind of, how that all happened. And, and that in my income from that steadily grew, to where it was, a sizable enough chunk. I wouldn't say on its own a full-fledged salary, but it was enough that, it gave me some extra when I was still working in that clinic in Seattle. I was working 30 hours a week. And it gave me a buffer when we cut ties with Seattle and headed south and started over.
Right. Yeah. What a great combination. And it's so interesting that the post found you on Twitter. So definitely goes to show just the power of putting yourself out there, right?
Yeah.
And you just never know. So very, very cool story. Let's talk a little bit about, so you've been able to really leverage your writing skills in terms of, the written media. How about, tell us a little bit about your journey into video, because I know that was one of the things that, that we worked on together, essentially, right? To come up with a plan for you to get your message out there in a much more visible way, and to really utilize the written media and also video as a way to position yourself as the go-to authority in this space. Can you tell us a little bit about, your experience with that?
Yeah. I mean, I'd kind of put off doing video for a long time, partly because it was just like, one more tech thing to learn. And, I guess I'm an introvert by nature. So I don't know, maybe some people like video the moment it became a thing where they were like, yeah, I'm all in. For me, it was a little bit slower, but I knew that, video in social media, video is here to stay. I mean, there's no denying that. And, and I was aware that the various social media platforms, their algorithms were kind of favoring people who were doing live video. So, it was really a no-brainer. But yes, it was in working with you. It was kind of that final nudge. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do the thing. So yeah, I started with Facebook Lives, and I actually enjoy doing them. I know some people really, really struggle with doing video. It's so hard for them. Even though I'm not a total extrovert, I don't know. And, and maybe it's because I'm just comfortable talking with people one-on-one, and that's kind of how I feel. And I've also done enough public speaking, which, even though, I get the jitters and stuff, once I settle into it, I do really enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah. So I started with Facebook, and I'd been doing that, oh gosh, I don't know, a number of months, and that was going well. And I was like, oh, I really should start doing Instagram. That's what you and I had talked about that. And I was like, oh, looking at what software can repurpose.
Right.
And I was just like, oh, well, that's just going to take too much time. And I had a loose plan that I would just do my Facebook Live and then go, like, shortly after that and do Instagram, but I hadn't done it yet. And then I got an email from the publicist for Lindo Bacon, who wrote Health at Every Size, Body Respect. Their recent book is Radical Belonging. And the publicist asked if I would host Lindo on an Instagram Live. And I said yes. And then it's like, okay, I have got a couple weeks to do solo Instagram Live. So I'm familiar with, like, whatever details about how to do it. So that shoved me into getting off the fence there.
Right. And so right before we pushed the live button, or as we were pushing the live button today, Carrie and I were talking about, basically how she organizes herself to do both a Facebook Live and an Instagram Live. So I just want to spend a quick minute on that, because I think it's super interesting. And just to give you guys a little bit of background info, the way that I teach my clients is to basically have a core piece of content, right, that you're creating, every week, assuming you're doing like a weekly newsletter or a blog, and to get as much mileage as you can, right, to repurpose that and, really get as much as you can out of it. So when Carrie and I were talking about, okay, so you're doing great with the Facebook Lives, now it's time to, like, get that content onto Instagram, right? Preferably IG Live or, maybe IGTV. We really contemplated, gosh, does it make sense to take that video from Facebook Live and repurpose it? So tell us tell us about that. Don't do it.
Yeah, well, I remember one of our one-on-one sessions, and we were actually, I think, both kind of Googling things, and I was just like, oh, that feels like too much work.
Yeah.
And, and plus probably too, I'm sure that any of the software that would do that was not like free software. So it would be another investment in something. So no, just what I do is, every Thursday, given barring a vacation or something, at noon Pacific time, I go live on Facebook, and I do schedule those for the accountability. And it's funny because, I don't know, about a month ago, I think I got out of the habit of scheduling them. I think I was away for part of the week on my schedule. My social media schedule just kind of got knocked off kilter a little bit. Now I'm back. But I was like, oh, yeah, it's really important to schedule them, because then you are doing it no matter what.
And when you say schedule, are you referring to creating an event in Facebook? Yes. So that's the ticket, right?
Yeah. I just go, Facebook, click live and ask if you want to schedule it. And I do that, and I make my nice little cover image and all that. And then I cross promote it. I do it on my Facebook page. I cross promote it in my private group I have. I just, I said, just so you know, I got this live coming up. I said I host it on my page, but it appears here as well, so they know they don't have to go anywhere else.
Okay.
So so I do that at noon, and I do my lives based on a blog post. Usually it's my most recent blog post. Occasionally I'll go back into my archives if I have some reason that I don't want to do it on my current post. So usually it takes me about 15 minutes. And, then I have a little break, and I take my webcam off my tripod, and I put my phone on there, and I, type in the title, because you can type in a title, and I make sure I have my cover image I'll use in my feed, on my camera roll from Canva. Love Canva. Canva is just a
Canva's like amazing.
Yeah. And then I go live on Instagram, and I kind of treat my Facebook one as a kind of my dry run. Like sometimes in translating a written blog post to a spoken video, it's just like, oh, that part just seems weird spoken a lot. So I just know to kind of tweak it when I do it on Instagram. And then, I save it to IGTV. So it's permanent, and then, promote it right away to stories.
Yeah. So I love that. So, I mean, really you're saving time. It's just such an interesting way of going about it. So basically Thursday is your live day, right? You go live at noon, and then you give yourself a little break, and then
12:30.
30 minutes later, you go live on Instagram, and you've hit both platforms. And guys, do you see how it's basically repurposing the same content? And so that's a really important takeaway here. I would say for the most part, people consume their content generally in one place, I would say, right? Like people kind of lean one way or the other in terms of their preference on where they consume their info. So have you ever had someone say, Carrie, well, gosh, I just saw you do that same exact thing on Facebook? Never, right? It just doesn't happen.
No. And honestly, I mean, I don't know. I feel like if I noticed somebody I follow doing the same thing in both places, I would be like, they're two different platforms.
Right.
Of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would just say it saves you time. It allows you to reutilize the content, which I think is super important.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got a quick question. Hey, Megan. What do you think is the best amount of time to go live for? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it depends on what it is. I mean, like I said, my lives end up being right around 15 minutes, sometimes a little bit under, because most of my blog posts tend to be about the same length, kind of by happenstance. And so that's just what they end up being. I've toyed with the idea of eventually going live a little more often. And if I do that, I will probably do very short live, like a couple minutes. Like if there's just some issue or some new study that comes out that's like really like fat phobic and it's pissing me off.
Yeah.
I find some of my best social media content is when I'm all like on my soapbox about something.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, when you show, like when you take a stand, right? People love that.
Yeah, when I'm all fired up.
Yes, like, oh,
yeah.
right. I love it. So yeah, I would say, Megan, at least from my perspective, like my lives, on Facebook tend to be a little longer, especially when I have a guest. So, like a lot of people will say the benefit to going longer is that you give more people an opportunity to join, right? So I would say that would be a benefit, but I would just say in general, 15, 20 minutes, right? That makes a lot of sense. Oh, hey, Cindy, how are you? So Cindy has a question, and Cindy, you may, everybody might recall, Cindy and I chatted just a few weeks ago, and she's also in this intuitive eating counseling space. So she would like a little bit of clarification.
Yes. So I have a Facebook business page, Nutrition by Carrie, and that's where I schedule my lives. And then in scheduling it, you have the option of having it also go into a group you manage. And so I have my private Facebook group selected, so it will automatically show up there. I don't have to record it in two different places. So that, so like noon, I am going live on Facebook, usually done by about 12:15, and that gives me about 15 minutes to get some more water, stick my phone on my tripod since you can't do Instagram lives from your desktop. I do my Facebook lives from my desktop. I have a separate webcam because I don't like the Mac webcams or they built the built-in. Right. And so that gives me a 15-minute break. I get all that, do my Instagram live, done by 12:45. So, all in, total investment, less than an hour. Not something that I've already written the blog post, but, that gets its own purpose.
Right. Because again, people, your audience is consuming the content in different places. And each of these places really kind of serves a different purpose, right? So the blog really is designed to bring new visitors to your website ultimately. And hopefully when they're there, they're going to see your freebie and opt in so you can, get them to follow you. And, then you have that opportunity to really build that trust. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and I send out a weekly e-newsletter on Wednesdays. And so, I kind of write, I write a personalized intro just about, whatever's going on. I think this week's newsletter was my trip to Eugene last weekend and the gorgeous produce I bought and blah, blah, blah. And then I include usually the first chunk of my blog post with a link if they want to read the rest of it. So I partly repurpose it in my newsletter.
Right. So then you're driving traffic from the newsletter to the website, which is going to help your SEO. It looks like Cindy has a question.
Yeah, I just use Facebook Live by itself. I know that there's definitely benefits for using StreamYard, and there's probably some similar services for doing, maybe captions, graphics and stuff. And I just decided, I feel like it's easy when thinking about doing something new to get so bogged down in the details. And I decided it was more important to just do it. And if down the road, I want to upgrade to doing it a different way that gives me more bells and whistles, then great. But sometimes just getting the thing done is more important.
I would completely agree with that. Just get started is the goal. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your process in building your practice. So what would you say, looking at your biggest challenges, what would you say they were especially when you first started?
Gosh. So I really opened my private practice. It was April of 2019. And I remember that specifically because I was up in Whistler, British Columbia, in between attending a state dietetic conference near Seattle and then speaking at another conference like a week later in the Seattle area. So we just stayed up there. So I used Practice Better as my software, and I set up everything in there. I was all ready to go. And I think one of my former clients from my day job in Seattle signed up to work with me, and I attracted a few other clients. And I wasn't unhappy with that because I was doing a lot of writing. So it wasn't like I was doing nothing and just looking to that. But I think, I don't know. I know I'm trying to remember exactly how I was feeling at the time. I know when I started working with you, Lesli, I wasn't charging enough. That became clear. I wasn't clear. I wasn't clear if I was charging enough.
Yeah. It's hard to know when you're all by yourself.
Yeah.
Right? You're kind of like in a vacuum. How would you know?
Totally. And that was very stressful. And interestingly, I was still stuck in the mode of working all the time. This started really when I started going back to school to get my prereqs to go to grad school to become a dietitian. I was working full time, taking heavy science classes. I mean, I remember taking like a 4-credit organic chemistry class in a 4-week period over the summer from University of Washington. I missed, my husband went camping without me. I literally spent every spare moment at my dining room table with my OChem book, my notes, and my little molecular Legos. And I worked full time when I was in grad school, which I wasn't supposed to be doing, but I did. I had a job where I could work from home, so it was workable. And my boss didn't care when I got my writing done, as long as it was done. And that just kept going. I mean, when I was working, when I was working in this clinic in Seattle, I was working 30 hours a week, doing a ton of freelancing. I mean, I was working pretty much every evening and weekends. I would be camping and like freaking out about where I could get a cellular connection to interview somebody for an article for the Washington Post, or, where we could find a coffee shop with Wi-Fi so I could email an article to an editor. It was crazy.
I remember that. I remember like when we first started working together, that was definitely one of the goals, right?
Yeah.
Make more money in less time and create boundaries so that you could really take time off.
Yeah, because it was not sustainable. And I was just like, I knew it's like, I can't keep going this way. I mean, that's just not normal. We all always have times where maybe we have to do some work on the weekend, but it needs to be the exception, not the norm.
Not every single weekend. Right. Yeah.
So I would say in terms of building my practice, the real game changer, and I think I do want to talk about like where I get people from, how people find me. But I think just the real game changer was when I was taking your lucrative course blueprint class, which I took before I started working with you one-on-one.
Right.
And we were doing email sequences, in this case for courses, but you also included some information on doing it to fill spots in a private practice. And I did that. I think it was around, that would have been, right at the beginning of 2020. And it was just like, oh my God.
Right.
It's like, I'm getting more people by doing this. Like, it was like, wow.
Yeah, I know. I reviewed some of like our paperwork, right, from the past. And I refreshed my memory on that with you, how like you had indicated, gosh, I never thought to do that. So yeah, it's super interesting, right? Because that's like more, so lucrative course blueprint is a course that I teach, and guess what? It's coming up again, people. It is coming up in, actually we'll be opening the doors in about a week or so. So that is right around the corner. Essentially that course is about how to launch and create a group course or like an online kind of a course, right? Like an evergreen course. But we do also talk about how to get clients, like, kind of a rush of clients and fill private client spots all at once. And so tell us about that process for you, because it sounds like that really was an important launching off point for your practice.
Yeah, it was. I, basically had people apply. And so I was able to review applications and decide who I wanted to invite to book a discovery call with me, and then went from there. And I mean, my goal at that time was about my upper goal was like 10 clients, because like I said, I do a lot of freelance writing, and so I was able to kind of hit that mark. And then I did another launch 6 months, or about 6 months later. It might've been a little later than that. So that would have been, late in, so later in 2020.
Yeah.
Is that, maybe it wasn't sooner. I think I'm off.
Well, it's a time warp with this.
I know.
Have you noticed? Like, it's kind of bizarre. But it happens.
I know, I'm trying to think how many times, and then there was the pandemic. But anyway, I've done a few cycles of this, and then where things really boomed was, actually it was last year, because it was after the pandemic had started, and I was surprised that I was still getting a lot of clients, because I didn't know what was going to happen. And it was funny because a lot of my clients are retired. Some of them recently retired, and I had some clients that are like, well, I'm clearly not going to be going to Europe this year, so I might as well invest in myself.
Right.
So I was like, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
yeah. And so I did another email. I did a launch right around the beginning of this year, kind of really trying to, get the people that, are trying to break free of dieting. But of course, there's just the pull, diet culture, the diet culture marketing machinery really fires up around January 1st. So,
right.
It's appropriate, I feel like, to market intuitive eating at that time too, for people that are like, I don't really want to diet, but, I don't know, is there another way? And and I got a bigger rush of people, and then it didn't stop. It didn't stop.
Wow.
I was amazed, because from my nutrition coaching page, people can, request to book a discovery call session. And that's the way I have it set up now through Practice Better. They can request it. They have to fill out, some information, and I can review and decide if I think they might be a good fit. If they're clearly not, I politely, say, I'm declining your request, and this is why. But it just didn't stop. And I was way past, I was moving past my 10 client cap. And I was
your 10 limit, right?
Yeah. And I was like, can I keep going? And I'm like, okay, I'm still really not traveling much. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to let more people in. And so, I'm like, I think
so basically you, in that particular launch sequence, you booked at least 10 people.
Yes.
And I'm just into a big package, right? Like, tell us a little bit about your program.
Yeah, for intuitive eating, it's a 6-month program, and it really has 2 layers. It has, one-on-one sessions with me and intake, and then 12 follow-ups. And it has 12 learning modules, self-paced, that drop, between a set of sessions. And the reason I did that is, because I wanted all my clients to be grounded in certain core principles regarding intuitive eating, mindfulness, what true health and wellness looks like, body image. I wanted them to be grounded in those things without us necessarily having to talk about all of those things in depth, in sessions. But I'm just, I'm looking at what I think, because I set a goal this year for my private practice, just for that part of my income, to make $50,000. And I am very close. I am very close to that. I'm actually looking.
That was the goal for the year?
For the year, for 2021. Okay, year to date. Yeah, I am at 47,915.
Okay. Oh my gosh. And we're halfway through the year.
So, yeah, I mean,
wow.
And that is, actually, oh wait, is that, oh no, sorry, 47,090, which is 36,500 more than I made this year or last year in the same time period.
Right. Okay. Amazing.
So just to put, to put numbers on it, whatever, but
yeah.
And that's, I mean, that just kind of blows my mind, but it's because I've let more people in and I've chosen to do that. And I haven't been, there's certain freelance writing outlets I haven't been doing as much for, which I'm okay with, because those particular outlets, I would keep having to write COVID related stuff. Everything else related to COVID. I have a little COVID writing fatigue.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Okay, so clearly this launch strategy to bring in private clients works without a doubt.
Yeah.
Was it tell us, did you do, I know obviously you did the email sequence. Tell us about, the precursor to the email sequence. In other words, I know you've integrated challenges and things like that.
Yeah.
Did you do that for the private client spots or just for your group?
Last year, I did an intuitive eating challenge, kind of trying to drive people to the course I developed.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting, I did get two people in the course.
Yeah.
Woo. But I got a couple private clients out of it. And so I know it's like, people want to work with me one-on-one. I have a hard time selling courses. So I have a 12-week course developed, and I'm kind of thinking about repurposing the stuff I've done, maybe breaking them up into shorter courses, each with a smaller price point, and just kind of seeing. So I'm playing with that. I feel like the content's good. I can reuse it. I'm not worried about it. And some of that content I use in the learning modules that my private clients get. But something I did do this year is I opened kind of a second element of my practice, working with people with irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, the low FODMAP diet. And I did that because back when I was still working, outpatient clinical, I had a couple clients with IBS, and I had gotten some training in administering the low FODMAP diet. Like, I think I was still in my internship or right after, I can't remember. So I knew what to do. And I knew there's really a big feeling of satisfaction from helping people really reduce their symptoms and improve their quality of life. I mean, to me, I think my intuitive eating clients may be a little more satisfying because that work is kind of deeper and juicy. But IBS I enjoy. And again, with the pandemic, I kind of did some advanced training last year online with Monash University in Australia, which does most of the research on low FODMAP diet. I didn't know what was going to happen with the pandemic.
Right.
So I thought I wanted another potential income stream. And so I do a 4-month program with that. It's enough to go through the elimination, the challenge, and the personalization and fine tuning. And I really offer that through an intuitive eating lens, with the idea of increasing food variety, increasing food freedom, which really, when done properly, it really does that. I mean, people are surprised that, it's when you go through all the phases, it's not restrictive.
So basically you added a niche to your business. So tell us how do you do that? How do you balance that? Like, how does it impact your messaging? Because that can really confuse some of us, right?
I know. And that was hard for me. And I know that was something you and I talked about. So basically, most of my messaging and social media is focused on intuitive eating because that's really my core. But on my homepage, where I have just kind of a little nugget about who I help, I have a mention in there that I also help people with, IBS. In my menu, under Work with Carrie, there's intuitive eating coaching and help for IBS. So it's right there. I think most, if not all of my IBS clients right now found me from my provider listing on the Monash low FODMAP app.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And, so that's interesting. So that's just been a steady source. So I don't have to do as much direct marketing. And I've toyed with things like writing some blog posts that are focused towards that and maybe just not promoting it prominently in my email newsletter. I may going forward do stuff like that if I need to. But right now, I mean, I have more clients than I thought I'd have.
Right.
And I don't know if I want to sustain this number of clients at any one time going forward. I may or may not.
Right.
So
you're on a wait list.
I am. I'm
Tell us about
firmly,
that.
yeah, because I decided I have some of my clients are going to be finishing up their 6 months within the next couple months. And I thought, going into summer, it wouldn't be the worst thing to have some clients kind of drop off. And also I wanted to make sure I wasn't doing any onboarding when I'm heading into vacation season. And I wanted to make sure that all of my clients have some sessions under their belts so they're feeling more secure. So when I have to space out our sessions, I figured out how I can do my vacation and probably space people out 3 weeks apart instead of 2, just for over a couple of months.
Love that. And by the way, everybody, I'm going to, this is Carrie's website, nutritionbycarrie.com, if you want to take a peek. So, beautiful, beautiful website. And and it's really interesting how you integrated both niches. So I think it's a great example of how someone could do that. That's a question I get all the time, especially with intuitive eating, because I am finding more and more of my clients also want to help people interestingly with gut health. There's a connection certainly with gut health issues and challenges, especially with clients who, have a history of chronic dieting. So, I mean, it really does make a lot of sense. So there is some overlap there for sure. So check out Carrie's site if you want to see how she's been able to integrate these two niches under one company umbrella.
Yeah. And I find that my IBS clients, they like that I also have an intuitive eating focus. So I think what's happening is they're finding out about me. They're checking out my website. They're seeing my other stuff. And they actually really like that I kind of have that dual focus.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. So, all right. So any advice for other practitioners that are joining us today? Any, any words of wisdom? I mean, you've been so successful in bringing this business, you're surpassing your financial goals, like literally. I mean, from the nutrition practice standpoint, you're assuming you stay on track, which you may or may not, right? But it's really your choice.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you could like double your goals in terms of, what you're going to potentially achieve in this calendar year, which is pretty remarkable.
Yeah. And I figure when I open up my private practice to new clients again in September, I mean, I know I'll get some new clients between September and the end of the year. It's just, a question of how many. And another thing is with just the IBS niche, there are I know of a handful of options out there where I could promote my IBS services specifically that I haven't because I haven't needed to, but I can, if things start to taper off, I can start promoting that more. So I know I definitely have options. But, in terms of, advice, I think we were talking about maybe advice specifically for intuitive eating practitioners. I think one piece of advice that I kind of wish, I don't know if it's advice. Yeah, it's kind of advice. When I was still working in Seattle, doing non-diet weight management, one of the reasons I left it was because even though I was really promoting intuitive eating, I was still also promoting weight management, and those two things are not compatible. It became more and more uncomfortable. I couldn't ignore the cognitive dissonance anymore. That's when I started to form my exit strategy, which, it was a several month thing. What are we going to do? Where are we going to move? I think one of the things I wish I'd known earlier when I was in that weird transitional phase of doing non-diet weight management is that it's common I was fence straddling, and it's common. I know Christy Harrison on her Food Psych podcast, which I've been a guest on and actually have gotten some clients based on that appearance. But, she's talked about that. I think there's not enough people talking about that. And I feel like it's okay to have that transitional period, but it's really important to move through it and really commit for anybody who really wants to do intuitive eating. It can't be combined with weight management. It just can't. And it's okay to feel uncertain. But there is such a feeling of relief and freedom of moving through. And then you can be crystal clear in your messaging, which is hard when you're fence straddling. And if you want to attract people that, want to move away from dieting and that's what they want, then, you want it to be clear in your messaging that this is who I help. So I feel like there's no downside to that. And I know I think into people who are moving into the realm of intuitive eating practitioner, but they're fence straddling. They're worried about what will happen if I'm not offering weight loss.
Right.
And it's like, no, there's enough people out there who have been damaged by dieting and they want to move on and they just don't know what to do. And they need guidance and they need help and they need support and they need empathy. They're out there. So it's, it could be scary because so many people see like offering weight loss is like necessary, for business. It's not.
Right. Yeah. I feel like this whole area has really evolved. Certainly since I had my nutrition practice, when I, was kind of dipping my toe into this area, it was really new. And I think it's very helpful that more and more people, just that level of awareness has increased dramatically. So, and I would agree, like there's lots of opportunity in this area. If you're contemplating making this switch in terms of your messaging and your niche, I would second what Carrie said. Absolutely. Highly encourage everyone that's considering it to, be courageous and move forward. Definitely. So great. So thank you so much. We got to do this again because we could just go on and on, right?
This is fun.
In terms of sharing all these great strategies. And I'm really so delighted for you with your success and just music to my ears to, of course, the financial success that you're having is huge. Equally as important is the fact that you're not having to sell your soul to get there, right? You're able to maintain that life balance that's so very important to you. And you got a wait list. Like,
I know.
It don't get much better than that. And you're doing this work that you are so passionate about doing. So it's just a wonderful combination. So thank you again so very much, Carrie. Thanks to all of you for joining. Oh, and real quick, before I forget, I do have an ebook. If you guys want to grab it, leslibitel.com/7 mega mistakes. And so go ahead and grab that. I'll be sharing inside of that ebook, like the 7 big mistakes that I see clients make when it comes to launching online courses and group programs. So you don't want to miss that. leslibitel.com/7 mega mistakes. All right, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now. Bye, Carrie.
Bye.